Awesome. All right, next I'd love to hear, we have a threefer, Stories in Immigration Justice from Jude and Deborah Little and Claire Deroche.
You know who your friends are when they make you go first. So I'm Deborah Little from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. This spring, we received an award along with these two congregations from Long Island Jobs with Justice for our work. For us, it was for our work on immigrant rights and the interests of undocumented immigrants. So I'm going to start with successes. We have a group of members who are actively involved in supporting the accompaniment project of Jobs with Justice. That means going with undocumented immigrants to everything from traffic court to their hearings in front of ICE. It makes a huge difference, if any of you have ever not done it, to have faces that look like ours in the courtroom when people are in front of judges. Immigration judges. You don't have to say a thing, just being there is huge. Like a number, I think, of our congregations, we're pretty good at giving money. So we regularly support the Solidarity Fund, which is a fund that JWJ has to help families whose breadwinner is in detention or has been deported. I think really our biggest success is that we have partnered with members of 4 other faith groups in our community, Presbyterians, Quakers, and Catholics, and some non-sectarian groups as well. And we have founded the North Brookhaven Sanctuary Cluster. So in the 3 years of our existence, we have done a number of things. Some of it is called Migra Watch, where you literally are sitting outside the house of an immigrant who is threatened with being picked up, and you're kind of the watch for that person. Rapid response, where you go out to be witness if there is, a raid. We've done some Know Your Rights trainings and others trainings. We've also prepared ourselves in the congregation to support the sanctuary church that is in our community, which is the Presbyterian one. Challenges. Sometimes your partners aren't quite on the same page as you, so we have prepared to transport immigrant children, if their parents are picked up, to take them to a guardian. But then we just learned that the lawyers are still very anxious about having those conversations with their clients, so they aren't doing the paperwork yet. So that is work in process. We, like the congregation we just heard about, there's been some complaints about too much social justice services, such that the minister actually had to count the number of social justices she was giving to make sure that, to check the reality, shall we say. And third is we're so small, we're so tiny. There are 4 of us who are regularly close to burnout, and there's another 4 to 6 who participate. And so for us, constantly, the challenge is to get more bodies in the room, maybe with a trade-off of the money. So that's the ongoing challenge.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all here. I'm Claire Deroche, and I'm the Social Justice Coordinator for this congregation. With the election of Trump, the need to walk with the immigrant community on Long Island only increased. And as Deborah said, we are blessed by the work of Long Island Jobs with Justice. Through them, our congregation has participated in accompaniment training, provided space here for that training, and for Jobs with Justice's annual conference, and contributed to their Solidarity Fund. We also entered into the conversation of whether or not we could, should, would become a sanctuary congregation. We thought we might be a natural choice since we have all this space. For a year, the Social Justice Committee investigated this possibility and held conversations with congregational leaders. Then, at an island-wide convening of immigrant advocates, I posed the question to them: is UUCSR well situated to be a sanctuary congregation? Their answer was no, because of our location. We're not on the bus route. We're not in the middle of an immigrant community. If you are a sanctuary congregation, you need to be accessible to the local community so that anyone who is in sanctuary in your congregation can receive visits from other family members, from friends. So their answer was no. And they urged us to work in other ways. And so that's what we have done and what we are doing. At least some of us are. We really, as Deborah said, we really too need more people doing this work. And you can see me, you can see Diane Haney. Where's Diane? There you are, chair of our Social Justice Committee, if you want to talk about that and learn what you could do. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jude Geiger. I'm the minister serving the UU Fellowship in Huntington. I could almost just stand here and say ditto to what Claire and Deborah had said. So much of it's the same. So I won't go into those specific details and talk more about process and challenges. First off, it takes a lot of people. Many of the folks in our room from Huntington, Diana Weaving, Helen Boxwell, Mary Beth Geiger, and others like Steve Burby, who aren't here today, make this possible not from just sheer amount of work they're doing, but it's all about linkages. It's about being connected in the community, knowing all the power players, knowing the nonprofits, and not taking the lead, not being the place that comes in and saves the day, but the place that comes in and says, hello nonprofit, hello community group, what do you need from us, and how do we follow lead with you? There are other structural things around a congregation that's worked well for us. Any issue around immigration rights or working on economic rights for us has worked well, where the minister may preach on a topic, and then you're partnering with a community group that comes in, that then leads a forum afterwards. That's how we built up the accompaniment program, where we had, I think, about 30 of our members get trained doing the work that Deborah was talking about in her congregation. The other sides of it, there are challenges that come up that for boards with all of this work, that how do you navigate it? And often you're not going to know how to navigate it until the challenge pops up. I think about sanctuary, and for us, this was an issue that was a real challenge. We also run a cold weather men's shelter, and one of the concerns was, how do we offer sanctuary and not also put at risk our ongoing ministry around supporting the needs of migrant workers? And we ultimately decided, with a lot of reluctance and not a total agreement, to work towards sanctuary with supporting other congregations that are better set up. And we would focus on the accompany work, and we would focus on that shelter work. But there's an old, 25 years ago, I remember as a UU in Morristown, any issue you want to do, you need to have a congregational vote, you need a long process, and then next year you need to do a different thing. And we even decided to go with the flow. Like, this is where the energy of our members are, and this is what the world needs and where we're situated. So anything tied to immigration rights, immigration justice, there's no more votes. We're just moving and making connections and shifting over time and getting to the point where, like, one of the staff at the Jobs of Justice was with Helen and I at an anti-bias task force meeting in Huntington at our fellowship. And he's like, I should probably join you all now because I've been in this building so many times this week, I might as well become a member. And it's a powerful thing to be in that kind of ongoing relationship. But for just like Reverend Margie, there was a point along the way where I had members actually tell me I was preaching some justice too much, and I had to count also how many times. Magically, after Trump was elected, now people are not asking me to count how many times. They want me to do it more often, right? But it is not always shiny, it's not always pretty, it's not always everyone agreeing. And it's often, you have a lot of, to make this work, you need a lot of powerhouse leaders who also are not always going to agree with one another, but still agree with the general outreach. Thank you all.